this great university, a former dean of the College of Plant Science and Crop Production, Copeland, Professor Aduke Bodunde. Can we give him a round of applause, please? All our guests from Pioneer, we recognize your presence, we acknowledge your presence. Please, can we put our hands together for ourselves, please? Thank you for taking it to this event today, the best university of agriculture in Africa. Thank you. Also in our midst, we have the head of Servicom unit in our great university, Mr. Adebayo Ogundimu. Can we please put our hands together for him? Thank you very much. We acknowledge the presence of the ICTREC unit who have been making our audiovisual unit function effectively. We also put our hands together for the team from the Directorate of Public Relations who have been covering the events in the bulletin and also in the media. Please, let's put our hands together for them, please. Thank you. While we wait for the procession to come in, immediately they're filing in, please let us rise to give respect to the procession. Thank you very much. In this hall today, also we have Professor Bosede Shotiloye of the CGNS department. Please, let's put our hands together for her. She's also a very strong member of the Publications Committee. Thank you. I'd like to also recognize the presence of the director in the Vice-Chancellor's office, the Deputy Registrar too, Mr. Moses Ayonda. Please let's put our hands together for him. Thank you. Right now, the procession is filing in. Everybody is expected to stand in respect for the procession that is just filing in. Thank you. May we all stand, please. Thank you. Once again, we are all welcome to the 91st Inaugural Lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, entitled Eliminating the Avoidable Gulf Between Knowledge and Development. And this lecture is to be delivered by no other person than a distinguished expert in communication and teaching language as second language, as well as the chairperson of the Publications Committee, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, of the Department of Communication and General Studies, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development. Thank you very much. We have the Director, Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center, Professor Jacob Olaoye. We have the Dean, College of Plant Science and Crop Production, Professor Jonathan Atungu. Right now, we have the HOD, CGNS, Professor Onyekere Onwaogu, the Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Professor Emmanuel Fakoya, the Dean Kulanim, and the Chairman of CODAT, Professor Lushi Jishowande. We have the University Librarian, Dr. Abayomi Owolabi, the Acting Registrar, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Morofat Daudu, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Development, Professor Kola Adebayo, and the 91st Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, and right now the Vice-Chancellor and the Chief Host of this inaugural lecture, Professor Babatunde Kehinde. Dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together for the inaugural lecturer and the Vice-Chancellor. Thank you. Right now, the national anthem, please.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians home and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
FUNAAB anthem, please. Very much. May we all be seated. Thank you. Once again, we are all welcome to especially to the 91st Inaugural Lecture of this great citadel of learning, the best university of agriculture in Africa and the 7th best in the world. Dear university community members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor this afternoon to introduce to us our own Vice-Chancellor and the chief host of this inaugural lecture, Professor Babatunde Kehinde. Please put our hands together for him. The Vice-Chancellor is a fellow of the Genetic Society of Nigeria, Fellow of the Institute of Health and Safety, and Fellow of the Agricultural Society of Nigeria. Can we put our hands together for him once again? Thank you. With the Vice-Chancellor this afternoon is our Deputy Vice-Chancellor Development, Professor Kola Adebayo. We have on the other side of this divide, the Acting Registrar, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Morufat Daudu. Also with us this afternoon is the University Librarian, Dr. Abayomi Owolabi. The Chairman, Committee of Deans and Directors, Kodad, is here with us. He also doubles as the Dean, College of Animal Science and Livestock Production, Professor Olushiji Showande. Also, we have the Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Professor Emmanuel Fakoya. With us this afternoon is the Head of Department of the Communication and General Studies, CGNS, Professor Oyekwere Nwalgo. Thank you very much. Dear university community members, bridging the gap between knowledge and development is crucial for fostering sustainable progress and reducing inequalities. To eliminate this avoidable gap, our 91st inaugural lecturer is going to take us on an in-depth journey as he speaks on the lecture titled, Eliminating the Avoidable Gulf Between Knowledge and Development. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the university's 91st inaugural lecturer from the Department of Communication and General Studies, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, a distinguished expert in communication and teaching language as a second language, as well as the chairperson of the Publications Committee, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde. This afternoon, Professor Bodunde will be delivering a lecture titled, Eliminating the Avoidable Gulf Between Knowledge and Development. With the Vice-Chancellor's permission, sir. I would like to recognize the inaugural lecturers, family members, ably led by husband, a former Dean of the College of Plant Science and Crop Production, Co-Plant, Professor Goke Bodunde. I acknowledge the presence of all the deans and directors, head of units and departments. I give a special recognition to all the CGNS members, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development staff members who have adorned a beautiful attire. Please, let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you. At this juncture, it is my honor to specially invite the Vice-Chancellor to give the Vice-Chancellor's address. Please join me in welcoming Professor Olushola Babatunde Kehinde. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. The Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Academic, Absentia, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Development, the Acting Registrar, the Acting Bursar, the University Librarian. The inaugural lecturer of today, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Deans of other colleges, Directors of centers and institutes, Head, Department of Communication and General Studies, other heads of departments and units, members of the University Senate, all academic and non-teaching staff, all special guests and friends of the university, members of the family and friends of the inaugural lecturer, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, great FUNAABites, great FUNAABites. May I hereby ask that the 91st Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, please stand and join me in here. I heartily welcome you all to the 91st edition of the inaugural lecture series of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. The inaugural lecturer of today, Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, was born on 10th July 1957 to the family of Pa Samuel Kehinde Oluboyede and Madam Victoria Arolashe Oluboyede of Okeafin, Are Ekiti in Ekiti State. She attended St. John's Anglican Primary School, Ilukbeju Ekiti, from where she went to Ayede Grammar School, Ayede Ekiti, from 1969 to 1973 for her secondary school education. She had a teacher's training program at the prestigious Adeyemi College of Education, now Adeyemi Federal University of Education, Ondo, from 1978 to 1981. Professor Bodunde bagged her first degree, Bachelor of Education Arts and English Language, in 1984 from the University of Benin, Uniben in Benin City. She proceeded to Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for her Masters in Education Psychology and PhD programs, which she earned in 1992 and 2004, respectively. Her work experience. Professor Bodunde started her teaching career as an education officer in 1985 at CSC Grammar School, Akure, Ondo State, from where she crossed to Government Day Secondary School, Bomo, Zaria, Kaduna State, from 1986 to 1981, and Federal College of Education, Zaria, from 1992 to 1993. She joined the services of Ahmadu Bello University as an assistant lecturer in 1993, and later joined the services of University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in 2000, where she started as Lecturer 1. She rose through the ranks until 2014, when she secured the chair of Professor in Communication and Teaching English as a Second Language. She has taught courses in communication, English, psychology at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. She was a facilitator for the National Teachers Institute from 2006 to 2011 and had a sabbatical leave at the Federal University of Ekiti from 2012 to 2013, where she served as the Acting Dean of Student Affairs Division. She was the Secretary between 2005 and 2009, Vice President between 2009 and 2013, and later President between 2013 and 2017 of the National Association of Teachers and Researchers in English as a Second Language. Professor Helen Bodunde has served in various capacities within and outside the university, some of which are the Hall Warden, the Yalu de Tinubu Female Hall, Assistant Coordinator English Pre-Degree Program, Vice Chairman, University Ceremonials Committee, Deputy Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Member, Student Disciplinary Committee, Coordinator, UNAP Theatre Troupe, Section Editor, University Journal, Head, Department of Communication and General Studies, 2013 to 2018, Chairperson, University Publications Committee, from 2021 to date, Lector, St. Rita Catholic Church, Ijaye, from 2003 to date, Parish Coordinator, Abeokuta Catholic Diocesan Family and Human Life, 2005 to date, Coordinator, Marriage Preparation and Counseling Committee, 2004 to date, President, Catholic Women Organization, St. Rita Parish, Abeokuta, from 2006 to 2017. Resource Person, Millennium Development Goal Retraining of Primary School Teachers, from 2008 to 2010. President, Education, Gender, Youth and Family Network, a non-governmental organization from 2014 till date, and technical member of Civil Society Coalition on Sustainable Development from 2015 to date. Professor Helen Bodunde is a member of the International Association of Teachers of English as a Foreign Language, as well as some other professional bodies in her field. She has attended several national and international conferences, workshops, and seminars, and has functioned as a resource person in many. She has to her credit 70 publications in national and international outlets. Our lecturer for this moment is married, and happily so, to Professor Jacob Goke Bodunde, and the union is blessed with children and grandchildren. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, a professor of teaching English as a second language from the Department of Communication and General Studies, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, to present her inaugural lecture titled Eliminating the Avoidable Gulf Between Knowledge and Development. God bless you all as you listen. Thank you very much.
The Vice-Chancellor, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Academic and Development, the Registrar, the Bursar, and the University Librarian, Dean College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Deans of other colleges, Student Affairs and the Postgraduate School, Directors of Institutes and Academic Centers, Head Department of Communication and General Studies, members of the University Senate, all academic and non-academic staff, all special guests, friends of the university, members of my family and friends, distinguished members of National Association of Teachers and Researchers in English as a second language, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, and great FUNAABites. I give glory to the Ancient of Days, the I am that I am, he that opens a door and nobody dare closes, for giving me the opportunity to stand before you and to give the 91st Inaugural Lecture. Inaugural lecture provides occasions for the university to acknowledge the appointment of professors. It also enables a professor to share his or her detailed innovative research engagements and output with audiences consisting of academic community, and also gives a great opportunity for gown and town engagement and interaction. This particular inaugural lecture is the first in communication and teaching English as a second language on this campus. It is the second in English and Communication unit of the Department of Communication and General Studies, the first being given by Professor Bolanle Idowu-Akeredolu-Ale. The third in the Department of Communication and General Studies, first Akeredolu-Ale, and the second Professor Canfort Onifade, and the 11th in the College of Agricultural Management and Development, and in our great university, the 91st. My childhood dream had always wanted to read a course that will make me have interaction with people. Going by the way I am, I love talking to people and I'm highly expressive. And so I have been nursing this intention. And so it was a purposeful decision for me to do a course that will give me the opportunity to interact with people. And also interact in the area of communication, because in every day, 84 of our relationship is on communication. And so I pursued vigorously the courses that could make this possible. English language, and because I know I'll be dealing with people, and when you want to deal with people, you need to understand the mental processes of behavior and the interaction so that you'll be able to understand your students very well. So the interest in doing a course in educational psychology, which is the study of mental processes and the relationship between that. The beginning, I started from ABU into core academics. From what was read, I worked in other places, but core, I started in ABU, and there I taught English and Communication Studies, Literary Studies, to undergraduate students, particularly those in agriculture, engineering, and medicine. Then I came to, I transferred my services to the Federal University of Agriculture, and I continue with that. So a career of encouraging learners towards language competence and performance, increasing performance and self-esteem of self-actualization has always been that. And so when you've self-actualized, then you will be able to give back to the community. That's when we talk of the transcendence according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, the Vice-Chancellor, sir, please permit me to introduce the topic of this lecture, and that is removing or eliminating the gulf between knowledge and development. When we talk about knowledge, this we receive through education. And if the knowledge, through quality education, and if the knowledge is well imparted, there through the ingredients of dissemination, then there will be attainment. And the tool for this knowledge dissemination is the use of language, irrespective of the different kind of languages that we'll be talking about. And therefore, when you are able to get appropriate knowledge, then you will be able to develop your country very well. We talk of, these days we talk of the developmental goals. There is no way you can talk of developmental goals if your knowledge of education is limited. You can only give what you have. We'll talk more on that. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, permit me to talk on the basic concept that have to do with this lecture. Education is very important. Education is dissemination of knowledge, using the necessary skills that can make this possible. And so for learning to take place, teaching must be in place. And teaching is actually the process of passing information that students will transfer to knowledge and they begin to use. And of course, the medium of attaining this is language. So the language of instruction is actually very important. And when we talk about language of instruction, this is the language that is used to disseminate information, to pass information, to give instruction to students so that the content of what we want to give them will be attained. Now, in every country, we have different ways of imparting knowledge. And because we have different languages, like our country, Nigeria, which is a multilingual setting. So in terms of the language used for education, the country determines, but there are basically three ways. The first one is what we refer to as endoglossic. This is the use of indigenous languages in teaching, in dissemination of knowledge. And the other one is exoglossic. This is the use of foreign language, a language that is not that of that society. For instance, in Nigeria, we talk about English. We have other languages, French and Arabic. Then the third one, the model that can be used is endo-exoglossic. Here we talk of the combination of indigenous language and the foreign language. Language policy in education. Every society determines the kind of policy that it will use. And in fact, in any areas, you have a policy that will direct that you want to do. And so for education in Nigeria, there is also a language policy. We will talk about that later. But what we have about language policy is that you have for pre-primary, you have for primary, you have for junior secondary, senior secondary, and tertiary institutions. These are languages that will drive the intention, the philosophy of education in a particular country. Now, when we talk of the language and quality education is one of the goals in the sustainable development. It's one of the goals that could drive it, because when you think of the 17 goals in the development, in this goal, it is education that gives information that directs our head to attain it. And so for development to take place, we know that the kind of education given will help. And so what do we use? Language is the main thing. And so there is a symbiotic relationship between language, literacy, that is read to write and be able to understand, and educational achievement. So language teaching and learning in the second language situation. You know, all tiers of education were special reference to Nigerian educational system, as we discussed here. The focus on the 3 tiers of education, and then the foundation, because the foundation has to be laid so that at each level, the teachers will be building on that. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, I want to talk about my contributions to knowledge. And these will be discussed under these 6 parameters. Policy issues and language teaching in the first level, language teaching in the second level of education, language teaching in the third level of education, emerging technologies and language teaching, then language and quality education for sustainable development. All these are based on my research, but for human development, that's a 6th one. Then I will talk briefly on that. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, I take the first one, that is policy issues. Here we look at the appraisal of the national policy on education, that the Nigerian country government have put in place to drive the educational system. Then we look at the medium of instruction preference. Do they like that or not? Then we look at the implementation. Are they fully implemented to achieve the purpose? And finally, if we have this, let us also see the time of transition and see if the student, the pupils are able to understand that. So we take the first one, which is the appraisal of Nigerian National Policy on Education. Nigerian National Policy on Education, which was first stipulated in 1977, review 1981, pre-review in 1984, and in 2004 reprinted. Now that particular policy, which is inside the philosophy of education in Nigeria, is to make sure that individual is being developed to be able to contribute effectively and be able to interact in the society. And they also recognize in that document the importance of language to drive that. And what is said about language in that document is that at the pre-primary level, mother tongue and language of immediate community will be used to impart knowledge. Then at the primary level, from primaries 1 to 3, mother tongue and the language of immediate community will be used. And English will be taught as a language in the curriculum, so also the indigenous languages. And that at primary 4 to 6, there will be a transition that English will be used to teach. Meaning that from primaries 1 to 3, it is assumed that that child will have been able to understand the syntax of English language, the structure and the grammar, and will be able to comprehend what the teacher will be teaching in all the subjects in the curriculum. And when we look at this, we discover that the time of transition is too short. How can a child learn a language for 3 years and start taking lessons from that? From our research that we conducted in 2004, we discovered that it was a major problem, and so it created a gap. Because by the time they are in primary 4 and they are using that language to teach them, many of them could not comprehend what they are being taught. We also discover from that research that the period of internalizing the syntax of the language was also too short. So they couldn't understand the target language and be able to take instructions using that language. Then the bulk transmission, meaning that primaries 1 to 3, everybody, either you understand it or not, start taking lectures in English language. And for all courses, we had our own critique there. The bulk transition is a bane. It would have been better that to identify some subjects that you can use English to teach at a particular time, then maybe in primary 5, you add another subject, and so we discovered that because they didn't do that, it became a problem. Even in that policy, they said that they will start language planning. How do you want to plan a language that you want to be using after you had started using? That's a major problem with that. And the last thing is the teachers' difficulties in managing many MTs. That in all schools, mother tongue will be used to teach primaries 1 to 3. How many mother tongues will the teacher understand and use? And in a place where you have a cosmopolitan, the language of immediate community might not be understood by everybody there. So these are issues that made learning very difficult for children in the primary school. And we look down on them that they have not gained anything. Really, this problem, it's not theirs. Now we also look at that policy that the parents who could decide for their children in primary school, like their children to be educated using the mother tongue in primaries 1 to 3 and English in 4 to 6. I'm sure many of us seated here, many put their children in a private school because they will start teaching them English from the beginning. Of course, these are issues. Because when you look at it, when a child learns his language very well, he will translate, he will use that to learn the other languages and learn it better. So from our research that we conducted in 2005 and 2009, we discovered that both teachers, the end users of the policy, preferred English language. The parents preferred using English language. I discovered when we were collecting this data, one of the parents said, I should be English, so that he wanted the children to be like me, who was being brought there by a driver. So these are the mentalities, and the children, it created a problem. Then we look at it, because this research was conducted in the 6 geopolitical regions of Nigeria. English was preferred by virtual, in fact, in all the states, 95%, 91, 97, so you see that. But the problem there is that, why did they choose this? They had this issue, because we also look at their profile, the attitudinal profiles. And from the attitudinal profile, their preference for English is because of the utility purpose. English is a language of communication from primary 4 to university level. It is the lingua franca. It is the language they use for official communication everywhere in all domains. And it's an international language. For the utility purpose, they prefer. And that is why it topped the list. Loyalty, well, this has to do with their mother tongue, indigenous languages, so that we can relate together. And solidarity, we want to solidarize, and we use that. Then international language, English still goes for that. Now, we discovered that from that, because of lack of utility, functions were not adequately accorded to the indigenous languages. So that kind of a language that has no role, that has always been the feeling of people. And so the love for a language that they don't even understand very well. Now, to be sure whether they are primary 4, that they can actually use the language to learn, we also conducted a research. And in the 6 geopolitical regions of Nigeria, we have Bodunde and Bodunde, Shotiloye and Bodunde, Pokuola, Bodunde and Shotiloye 2021. What we discovered was that the pupils in primary 4, many of them, about 60% of them could read. Now, when we gave them a test of what they had read, only 15% comprehended. So you can see that when a teacher uses English to teach the student either science, mathematics, all the subjects in curriculum, it means it is the 50% of the content of what the teacher was teaching that they will get. Obviously, a gov had been created. Now, at the second level, second language level, that's at the secondary school, we had established that the foundation was poor. Were they able to do anything before reaching secondary school? So, on this note, we will look at some of the things that we had in the secondary school and some of the things that could be done to help teachers. So that's why teachers must be resourceful to be able to do something positive. So we look at contrastive analysis. A contrastive analysis is a kind of model that the teacher will use in the second language situation to understand the languages of the students you teach and the second language that they're learning, so that you look at it both phonologically and also syntactically. You look at the areas of problem, and so you'll be able to help them. So we'll look at this. We also look at strategies that could help. So we went to scaffolding, then conventional discourse pattern, that is checking the teachers, how competent they are. Now let's look at the first one, the contrastive analysis. In English language, we have what we call dense fricatives. For instance, I say path, I will take this path. In most cases, what we hear is that I will take this path, and it is wrong. It's supposed to be path. But because in our language, we don't have this, we don't have, the closest to it is ta, and so that's why we say path. The same thing with as in this is the boy. What we say is that this is the boy. So these are issues. These are issues. And also when we go into the voice labiodental, you know, we talk of and the fan is blowing. In most cases, you hear the van is blowing. This is an issue. In fact, we were discussing somebody recently, with somebody who wanted to do something with us recently. Can you do this for us so that we can get it within the 2 hours? He said it is not visible. Instead of visible, he said visible. Visible has to do with vision. So these are issues and could also affect learning. So for a language, now we look at Bodunde 2008, Bodunde 2009, actually look at this. Even under streets in our languages, we don't have consonant clusters. For instance, we say street in English, S-C-R-E-E-T, we say street. But most of us, when we call, I live in number 5, Adekunle Street, we remove the T, the ta is removed. So these are issues. Though we may say it's not peculiar here because a white person, if he wants to pronounce the word S-U-G-B-O-N, which in Yoruba is what? Shubon, or you call it Shubon. So we have that kind of problem. But a resourceful teacher will do something that is meaningful to identify these areas in order to help the students to learn. In English language, we have 20 vowels. In Yoruba, we have 5. So you discover there are 15 vowels that a second language learner of English is contending with. And so this is a great issue. Now, the assessment of teachers' language competence, I talk about resourcefulness. If one is not resourceful as a teacher, he has no business in the teaching business. Because you will have to identify the problems that the students have, and you will also have to think of what you can do to help them. It is not peculiar to language alone. In all courses, when you discover that your students are failing a course and a particular aspect of that course, you need to do something so that you could help them. This is why the resourcefulness comes in. Now we did this assessment, the use of language competence in an integrated science class. This was done by Augusta and Bodunde 2015. What we discovered in the class is that both the teachers code mix and code switched. What do we mean by code mixing? This is a situation that in a sentence, the speaker used the speaker in a particular sentence, two languages are used. Let me give you some examples, because this is an integrated science. And I think one of the lessons we watched, they were actually treating the ozone layer. They also treated the drug abuse. And the teacher said, if you want to buy rice, that's the way the teacher. It was trying to explain that if they put cocaine in that, it will become hazardous. He said, if anyone ban lo hot cream, nigba gbogbo, kilo ma ṣẹlẹ̀ sí skin here. This is a teacher teaching in the classroom. Rather than saying that what will happen to the skin of anyone who uses harsh cream. So these are issues. The student might understand what the teacher is saying, but when it is the turn of the student to respond to this in an examination, will they combine these two sentences? So these are issues. Under code switching, this is a situation that in a speech, you will use a sentence in English, a sentence in another language. We have this example. Drug abuse is taking of drug without doctor's prescription. That's English. It continues. Ole fa wahala fun ẹni tó ń lò. Rather than saying that drug abuse is taking of drug without doctor's prescription, it can be hazardous to the user. So these are issues. And you know, students tend to imitate the teachers. So in an exam, how does that student respond to that? So we have a lot of examples of that in it. Now the assessment of teachers, we discovered that the use of tense, apart from code switching and code mixing, they were very poor in tenses. I mean, you could imagine, he said now it absorbs the ultraviolet light on the earth rather than absorbs. There are some agencies. There are some agencies. You know, the students take this in and they think that is the right thing. We also discovered that for emphasis, they pigeonize everything. You eat, and you fell off. Just to say that when you eat too much, this is what will happen. So we are saying this, particularly those of us who are lecturers, for emphasis sake. We may want to do this, but it is really not right because we might not be helping these students. And we also discovered, our observations generally is that the teachers use complex sentence structures. You know, when you talk of sentence structures, you have string and strings. And for somebody whose use of language is poor, when you begin to use many phrases, you will commit more error and your students will be at a loss. Then we also discovered that for the few of them who didn't use a code switching code, they will just read directly from the textbook. And the student needs the teachers to break down what is in the textbook. So this is also a problem. Then their language competence and performance was discovered to be abysmally low. Now we believe that something should be done to help the students. Then we did this research on scaffolding in education. When we talk about scaffolding, it is a support given to students to be able to learn better. Because in a class, you will have the can't do. You will also have can do with assistance. And you will have can do independently. And you know, when we look at it, according to Crashing, the MKO, it's not MKO Abiola now. The more knowledgeable order. When you have the more knowledgeable order, they will be able to help others. So what we did was that we used reading a book to teach writing. It was actually our intention. And we gave them something to do as a pretest. And thereafter, we now gave them a book of 30 pages to read. Then after reading, we asked them to summarize. And we provided a kind of clinic, language clinic, where we brought them to and we discussed their difficulties and we asked them to go back and rewrite. The following week, still 30, another different book, 30 pages. By this time we discovered that they were advancing, we gave them 65 pages book to read and we went through the same process. After that, we now look at what they had done and we now gave them the same essay that we gave them initially. Our results show that in the pre-test, both of them, both the experimental and control group, didn't do well. But after the pre-test, the experimental group performed better than the control group because of the support, the scaffolding support that we have given to them. The test of difference actually shows that the scaffolding did a lot of things to work. We also discovered that reading culture is actually going down. And whichever course that a student or a child is doing, you must learn how to read, because if you don't read, there is no way you can do well. So we venture into the use of workbook. You know, you have books and you have the supplements. The workbook is a supplement. So when you break down what is the main book, the supplement, you also allow them to do some exercises. So we use some students in Abeokuta Metropolis here between 2006 to 2021 at various occasions. Bodunde 2006, 2009, Shotiloye and Bodunde 2006, and Bodunde 2021. Now we discover that because we follow them up in the use of the workbook, we discover that they grow interest in reading. And because of this, they always did the assignment, and the teacher confessed that the student performance was better than before the commencement of the use of the workbook. And this also is a kind of resourcefulness that we have done. Now, all this we did in secondary school, and we are saying that when teachers are resourceful, when you look at those things that can create gap between the knowledge you want to impart and the attainments, then you need to do something to bridge the gap. Now to my main constituency, the Vice-Chancellor, sir. I taught in the university system for about 32 years, and I am still teaching, and I'm still counting. Now, we discover for instance, I worked in a specialized university where we then have a department of English as a whole, or faculty of arts. So what we do here is to teach English to all the students of this university. So all the students of this university pass through us in the Department of Communication and General Studies. We are not saying this as a measure of pride, but we are saying that we have contributed immensely to the development of the students. What we do under this, we prepare the students for them to be able to understand what they are being taught in the university, and when they go out in their various workplaces, that they will be able to use the language very well. So for this, we discovered that some of our when the students were registering, because we use some of this to teach them, and one student just came in to ask that we should register her after, in fact, almost 3 weeks of the closure. And when they came, why didn't you register on time? Then for about 5 minutes, he couldn't say anything. Then we offer her a paper to write. I think go with me on the screen to see what the students put down. I no come for register last week because I travel. I broke down last week. Sorry, ma, I beg you, register me. From all indication, and this is a girl who was already in the university, we discovered that we need to do more, and we really wanted to help her. We said, okay, just be coming every week so that we can give you extra lecture. We even start from ABCD. A is for what? He said A is for ample. And we say, what is ample? The one that people eat. So this is to tell you that there are issues. As a matter of fact, English and communication skill was introduced into the tertiary institution in 1998-99 academic session, when it was discovered that some of the students could not cope with their academic content of their course. So we have ESP, English for specific purpose, but what we teach is English and communication skill and English for academic purpose. Those are the two courses, the two areas of the ESP. Now we tried to find out from the students, what is your perception of this course? They said, in fact, it was very serious when we discovered that almost half of the students said that ESC and EAP was burdensome. They also identified that it was useful. A quarter of them identified that it was useful. And they also identified that it was relevant, but very low, appreciative. In fact, relevant and appreciative, the same level. But burdensome carried the day, which means that they had problems. And we tried to find out which areas of this. They said in writing and in speaking. Speaking and writing are productive skills. It is that person that will put together what he wants to do. Unlike listening and speaking, which is receptive. You are here and you listen and you get the information. So we discovered that the productive skill or the skills were very difficult, and we now try to do something about this. Then we conducted the research here in FUNAAB and some schools, some tertiary institutions here in 2013, Bodunde and Shotiloye. I think we could recall that time when there was crisis in FUNAAB because of the MTN mast. So, the exam that came at that time, we gave them a question. 200 level students, we gave them a question on this. Then for 500 level, there was this course, a university-wide course. We also used their exam scripts and we combined. We discovered that, just to tell us that they had problem with writing. The problem they had with writing actually emanated from speaking. There is a relationship between speaking and writing. When each time they want to call the word where, they will say where. And so in the script, we have something like this. Our names were written down. Instead of our names were written down. We say something like, I will be grateful if this request will be granted. Instead of saying, I will be grateful. So these are issues. They could also not. No, they didn't know the difference between the verb and nouns. That's why we have my proofs, plural of proof. My proofs are as follows. So these are issues, and we also, we were able to confirm that really, in fact, some say the mass erected has psychological effect on the students. Mass instead of must. Meaning that what most students call that word is mass, not must, and it's supposed to be must. So we see them, even psychological. You see, you want to tarnish my image, the R is removed. So we have a lot of this. And when we discovered this, of course, we had to create a clinic where we made them to come in and help them. And we discovered that after this effort, we had tremendous improvements. However, with the coming of COVID-19, where we really find it difficult to know who they are, because writing, the actual writing is under OPG now, so it's actually a great problem. Now we are the language learning in large classes. We did this work, Bodunde 2012, Bodunde, Akeredolu, Aduradola, Adebiji, 2018. This is what you have seen on the screen is a typical language learning classes in tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And so looking at this class, you will discover that it will be very difficult for a teacher of language to penetrate the students, because learning language involves collaborative effort. That is for both teachers and students to interact. In fact, those who teach 100-level courses, you will know that what we have seen there is a typical situation. So, and we try to find out, and they show to us very well that in universities, 1001 to 2000 is what we have. The smallest size between 1001 and 2000. In Mapoli between 101 and 500. And of course, in FCE, it was not as high as that. Excuse me. Then we now ask them about their perception of the large classes. Of course, many of them were negative. They had negative perception, except FUNAAB. The FUNAAB students that show positive perception. Maybe probably because some of other efforts that we have put in place. Then the assessment of learning in large classes, they said it was difficult. All of them said learning in large classes was difficult because some of them had to come early to sit in the front so that they will be able to get, because many are lost in the crowd. They were just there. Learning does not take place. Then they talk of the sitting arrangement. All of them said it wasn't comfortable except FUNAAB, who said their reading arrangement, their sitting arrangement was positive. And for their overall student perception, like I said, they had a complaint. Now, the language learning in large classes in tertiary institutions, the methods, because of the large nature, the nature of the class, participatory approach could not be used. And so it is either lecture method or teaching method. So the student could not benefit very well from the study. We are in the era of emerging technologies, and when this came, because we're looking for opportunities to improve our student performance in teaching. And I want to thank the university and the CTA. I think there was this that came, an MO between CTA and our university, and they came with Web 2.0. That was the time that virtually all of us didn't know anything about Web 2.0. And I thank God I participated in that program. And that program opened my eyes to the use of emerging technology in language teaching, where we were introduced to various tools the various tools that can help. We look at the use of Google Scholar. It was very new, relatively, Google Scholar, Google Documents, and we encourage our students. So we got about 100 students of 200 level who were doing the writing and literary appreciation that year. And we also interacted with some of our colleagues in ICT, and let me give it to Mr. Choretire and Obanla. They collaborated with us that time. It was new to them too, but we worked together at that time, and we taught the students. They helped the students to open the Google email and the rest of that because they didn't have it. And the students were encouraged and they were motivated because it was a new thing to them. And they wrote, we made them to write some essays. And they collaborated, we paired them together. Fantastic essays written by the students. And they also confessed that after some time, they also used that when they were writing their project. You have Google Alert. For Google Alert, any information, if you want it weekly, every day, they give you. Even when you are tired of it, they will still be sending it to you if you don't ask them to store. So it makes you current. And for as many people in academics, this is very useful. When we're 2.0, that's the various applications that we use at that time. And the Google Scholar translates Alert and Docs, which help the students to be able to do that very well. And from their experience, they confessed that that thing helped them very well and that it made interaction between them and their teachers very good. And they also said that it helped them and the knowledge gain was very helpful to them, even in writing their examinations and projects. Now here, social media that everybody condemns. Yes, there might be issues with social media, but there are positive sides of social media. So as a teacher, we must be able to look at various sites and know those ones that will be useful for their students. And we use this for our students. We use them for our students when in reading. We also use it in reading. And we utilize it. One, we ask them to bring out the factors that could impeach the use. And they came out with factors like poor electricity, poor bandwidth, epileptic problem with the eyes, with the lights. And so after this, when we gathered all this information, and I remember that time we had to approach the Vice-Chancellor then that our students were doing very well and we needed something to be done so that we could improve that. And today we are happy that in this university, the use of ICT in learning is very high. COVID-19 had made it possible for us, but before this time, the Department of Communication and General Studies have been using this in teaching. We ask our students, we give them topic, we ask them to make presentations so that we'll be ready to give a critique and to improve. And we discovered that it helped them. So much so that we introduced even to some other content teachers who are not in language, and it also helps. So both teachers and students agreed and had positive perception towards using mobile technology in teaching and learning. Now, quality education. We've been talking of some of the things that we have done over years to help and to assist. For instance, the resourcefulness of the teacher to make sure that that gap, that gulf is also filled up. So we look at quality education, language in education and sustainable development. For education to be effective, the use of language is very important because it is the language that is being used to transmit knowledge in every field to students. And when this is harnessed very well, it helps. So there is a very important relationship between language and education achievement and attainment. With some of the work that we carried out, we discovered that for students who have good knowledge of the language of interaction and communication, they perform excellently well. Then we also discovered that Nigeria is a multilingual nation, and we have arrays of languages that we can use, either indigenous or the foreign language. So both endo and exo language policy could help us. When we talk of education, either formal or informal, language is being used. So if this is harnessed in various levels, at the primary, the secondary, and the university level, and even in sub-informal sections, you go to the mechanic village, you want to buy something, and you want them to write for you. They will attempt to write it in English. In most cases, I tell them, write it in the language you know, and you'll be able to correct them. And so, we must harness the importance of using the various languages we have in Nigeria to make sure that the sustainable development that we want is there. For instance, we are talking of SDG. It is important that we use the language that the students will understand and the people will understand so that they will be able to get the information. If you say that you talk of, you are talking about the abuse, gender abuse. There are languages you can use, indigenous languages. Come up with that, jingles in various places, and make sure this one is done. How do we remove the avoidable gulf between knowledge and development? The resourcefulness of the teachers matters. The language of communication matters, and that is why the need to look at the educational policy of this nation is very important. You cannot set up a policy without a driver to drive it. As you are setting up a policy, you must also put in place a driver that will do that. So until that one is done and the available languages are used effectively, we may not be able to bridge the gap. But I tell you, this gulf is avoidable. And it is avoidable when we provide the necessary tools to do that. Now, on my human development aspects, I have taught in various, in the university here, I said all the students pass through my department, and we have done that. In supervision, I have supervised 8 PhD students, and all of them are working in different places and they are affecting lives. 3 of them are in the universities. When we have some of them in the department where I am, some in OAU, some in CALEB, some in the Polytechnic as chief lecturers. So we have them, and they have been doing even that we have taught them. Our co-supervised with others, about 12 again. And in the university, I've been involved in training and workshops. Training in various places, ethics and ethos of the university system. I participated in that as a resource person, and also the workshop organized for our security men to be better. I participated because I talk about the attitude of security men to policing and students around them. And also leadership position, it was relayed by the Vice-Chancellor as I was Deputy Dean of this university, the Deputy Dean of COLAMRUD, the last Deputy Dean of COLAMRUD, and the first Deputy Dean of COLAMRUD. And also I work in in the university where we organize workshops for final year students to make them employable. And of course, in mentoring and counseling, we have been involved in that because that is a major work that we do. And some people have benefited from us seriously. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, I want to conclude this lecture. Dissemination of knowledge requires a tool that cannot be avoided. And the tool has to be effective. And the users of the team must be competent and must be able to use the language effectively for the purpose in which that language has been given. The hangover effect of wrong foundation in language learning pervades the 3 levels of education in Nigeria. From what we had presented in this lecture, at the primary level, it was poor. Secondary level, the carryover. Third level, where you can say for ample, something is wrong. So that's a problem. And that contrastive analysis helps discovering areas of intervention in ESL. Issues in language learning are pedagogical because the teachers have to do more. They have to be more competent. Even teachers of content areas, you use language, to teach your courses. We're not blaming you, the foundation was poor, but you can work on it to correct. Then we also said that this 91st inaugural lecture stresses the importance of language in bridging the gap between knowledge and development. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, based on this presentation and my experience in this field, I hereby make these recommendations. That language of education must be revisited to review transitional bilingual education. Transitional bilingual education is what we use, but we need a maintenance bilingual education where both indigenous languages and English language will be given adequate functions to perform, so that students and parents will encourage their children to speak both. The situation we have in Nigeria now is that they are in between 2 words, they cannot lay claim to any. They can't speak English very well, they can't speak their mother tongues very well. Teacher development at all levels should be more intensive. And contrastive analysis should be a compulsory course for language teachers in training at all levels, while listening skills should be taught at all levels of education to students. Institutions should provide an enabling learning environment for language teaching. And And as much as possible, language lab must be provided in more universities. And finally, that other content teachers should not be left out in the training and retraining of themselves in the language of education so that they can impact very well their students. The Vice-Chancellor, sir, for all this to take place, I need to acknowledge the Lord, my Savior, who gave knowledge, the initiator of knowledge, of wisdom, who had made it possible for me, and I return the glory unto him. What can I say? How can I repay the Lord for his goodness to me? However, with the fruit of my lips, as I raise the cup of my salvation, I say thank you, God, for your numerous benefits entrenched in your love to me. Thank you, Lord. I wish to thank my parents, Samuel Kehinde Oluboyede, a lover of education. Loved education so much that he became the instrument to advise people in his village to do cooperative society to send their children to school. I wish you were alive today to see your promising daughter giving this inaugural lecture. But I miss you, but I thank you for everything. And my mom, Victoria Arola Oluboyede, I want to thank you for the support that you gave to my father to make sure that we had sound education. I honor both of you today. Thank you for being there for me and for all my siblings. Thank you, ma and sir. I also want to recognize my father-in-laws and my mother-in-laws. I never met my father-in-law, but the man I lived my life with in the past 39 years show to me the kind of work that Pa Thomas Bodunde did in the life of the children. Sir, thank you for preparing him and his siblings, even for me to interact with. Thank you, sir. Mama Uminike Bodunde Oluboyede. Incidentally, my mom is Victoria and Mama is Victoria. Mama, very loving. You can see always, you will see him. The laughter can melt every heart. Thank you for showing me love, ma'am. Then I want to thank my siblings. And I want to talk particularly on these two of my siblings. Both of them had gone to rest with the Lord. My elder brother, Fidelis Oluboyede, and my younger sister, Olushola Babalola. Both of them, my cause in life that I wanted to be in academia as a professor, anything that will facilitate, they contributed. I miss you today. I wish you were here, but I know your souls are resting with the Lord. Thank you. I want to thank Mrs. Mebe Iliola, my brother's wife. Thank you for the support. I also want to thank Dr. Oluwafemi Babalola, my sister's husband and a brother, for keeping the flag flying. Thank you very much. I wish to thank my other siblings, Pastor Adebolu Oluboyede and his wife, Olabisi Oluboyede. They are all watching. Captain Ebenezer Ayodele Oluboyede and his wife, Mr. Justus Kayode and his wife, and Mrs. Oluwakemi Aramide and her darling husband, Julius Olubumi Aramide, dear brother. All of you are wonderful and supportive. Thank you very much. I also want to thank my in-laws, my in-laws, okay, my nephews. That's the eldest person as far as female is concerned in my family, Mrs. Mary Oladechi. Then my brother, Dr. Atolani Yisa Oluboyede, he's here, and his lovely wife, Omolola Oluboyede. Thank you for being there and for showing the leadership. My good sister, Sholakwe Adegbegi, and her husband, Tunde Adegbegi. Thank you very much. Mrs. Bola Fakorede, I thank you. And all the members of the Oluboyede dynasty of Are-Ekiti, Irepodun local government. Thank you to all of you. All my cousins and nephews, I recognize you. And to my in-laws, my husband, my sibling in-laws, Daddy Matthew Bodunde, he had gone to rest with the Lord. May God rest his soul. The Olori Ebi, Mr. Adeshayo, and Mrs. Folake Bodunde, I thank you for being there for us. I also thank my sister-in-law, Chief Mrs. Elizabeth Yinkafe, a darling sister, and Mrs. Rachel Akinyemi, Mrs. Lucia Ojo Olatunji. I thank all of you. I also thank my late sister-in-law, Mrs. Bola Uluboba. May her soul rest in peace. Tayo Jegede and Mr. Luke Olarewajubode and his dear wife Anike. They are all here. I thank all of you. Now, at this time, I want to thank the vice-chancellors, all the vice-chancellors of this university. I worked with everyone except the first vice-chancellor because I didn't meet him here. But he laid a good foundation, and that's what we are benefiting from. So I want to thank all of them, from the first vice-chancellor, even to all of them, and the present vice-chancellor. Specifically, some of those vice-chancellors I served during their tenures, but I want to thank them for recognizing that the Lord had in me and for what they have done. Thank you very much. And to the present Vice-Chancellor, who gave me the opportunity to give this 91st Inaugural Lecture. Thank you very much, sir. Our paths had crossed in so many ways, but thank you, sir. I appreciate, sir. I also want to thank all the former deputy vice-chancellors, other principal officers of this university, from Professor A.R. Sholarin, and to all of them who will always, when you have any achievement, he will just send you a small note and congratulate you. The same thing Professor Adu. I recognize all of you. And all the other deputy vice-chancellor, there are numerous to mention, but to save time, in the book, all the names are there. And for the present management staff, my dear sister, the acting registrar, thank you very much. The university librarian from my department, thank you very much. And all the other principal officers, I recognize you all. I want to thank the COLAMRUD and the COLAMRUD family. When I say COLAMRUD, COFEC, was part of COLAMRUD. So I recognize all of you. Thank you very much. But I must recognize Professor Olusegun Awonorin, who gave me the opportunity to become a deputy, the deputy dean in that COLAMRUD, because he will always come and he gave me the opportunity, to learn a lot. Thank you very much, and I pray that you so will continue to rest in peace. All the other one, Professor Dayo Philip, who was the acting when the college was bifurcated, he was the first acting dean of COLAMRUD. Thank you very much. And to my present dean, that's Professor Olubenga Fakoya. Thank you for being there, a good brother. And to my HOD and all the HODs that I've worked with, I want to thank you, and particularly the boss. The head of department of the English department is always referred to as a boss. So, boss, thank you. And to all the bosses, Professor Akeredolu Adley, and I remember Professor Bode Sopeju, may his soul rest in perfect peace. All the heads of departments in COLAMRUD, please, I recognize you. Time will not allow me to mention you one by one. Now, my constituency, that the Department of Communication and General Studies, HOD, we thank you. Bolanle Akeredolu Ale Comfort, Onifade, a good friend. And Simisola Shotiloye, thank you. Professor Remi Aduradola, thank you. Emmanuel Akintono, thank you. And to all the numerous doctors there. I think this lecture is a plus for us in that department. We knew what we went through before we were where we are. So, my constituency, God bless all of you. I recognize you all. And for those I've worked in various units, the Yalo de Tinubu Hall, I thank all that worked with me. Greg, I thank all of you that had worked with me there. God bless you all. And for Senhod, the team, I also thank all of you. We thank God for those of us who work together there, from Professor Segun Lagoke to Professor Catherine Eromosele. Professor Tokpe Popola is there. Thank you, all of you. It was a turbulent period for us, but we skated through. And to my teachers and mentors, right from primary 1 to the university, I thank you all. And to all my classmates, some of them are here, I recognize you. All my friends that are here, I recognize you. Abican friends, I thank you all, you are here, I recognize you. To all my graduate and undergraduate friends, thank you. To all my spiritual family, from Our Lady Queen of Paris, Zaria, and to Saint Rita Idaye, you are all here, you done this place. Thank you for honoring us by coming here. The members of Household of God, Catholic Action Society, an organization I belong to, thank you, all of them. CWO, Catholic Women Organization, I recognize you. Thank you. Akpena Shojobi community, where we had lived for almost 14 years. Thank you for being here. And family, friends, all of you are here. Thank you very much, and thank you. For my students, thank all of you from BOMO to FUNAAB. I thank you, all of them. Former postgraduate students, thank you. They are all here. All of them are PhD holders now. Their names are here. And those who are still working on theirs, I appreciate you all. God bless you. And to my childhood friends, I thank you all. All of you are here. God bless you. And to my children, I thank the Lord for those children that the Lord has given me. Tolu, Tomi, and Tunde, Omoyajowo, and Temiloluwa. God bless you. Thank you for coping with my excesses when I was combining academics with motherhood. God bless you. My grandchildren, I recognize you all. God bless you. I also recognize, okay, this is my father. Now I want to thank God for the man the Lord had given to me as my husband. You know, when in the Garden of Eden, when he misbehaved, why did you do this? He said, the woman you had given me. But the one the man had given me, I want to thank him for that. We thank God because we have been doing it together. Thank you for giving or respecting our individual differences, and for both of us cooperating together to support each other's interests and make us who we are today. Thank you very much, my sweetheart. And now to my God, the immortal and in the invisible word God. Join me in appreciating the Lord and sing out. Oh God, holy, wise, enlightened, accessible, hid from eyes, most blessed, most glorious, the ancient of days, almighty, victorious, thy great name we praise. Resting, unhasting, and silent as light, no wanting, no wasting, thou rulest in might. Thy justice, thy mountain, art soaring above. Thy clouds which are fountain of goodness and love. To all life thou givest, to both great and small. In all life thou livest, the true life of all. We blossom and flourish like lace on the tree. Then wither and perish, but not change thee. Pray, Father, no glory, your Father of light. Thy name is adored, availing their sight. Our Lord, we will render, help us to sing. Praise only the splendor of light and
Thank you. Congratulations. Please, you may be seated. You may be seated. That was going around some memory lane. You want to present it?
I wish to present the copy of the 91st Inaugural Lecture, which is on eliminating the avoidable gulf between knowledge and development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a nice time with the one we call the coach. For those who understand that, yes. And I told her, when the coach takes on the jersey, you know what to expect. A round of applause for our 91st Inaugural Lecturer. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And for the corrections that we've been given today, it may take some time for them to really be internalized. Please pardon us and tolerate us. Thank you very much. Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde, I hereby present this award of honor to Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde as the 91st Inaugural Lecturer of the University, dated this day, Wednesday, 5th June 2024. Congratulations, man. And these are some of the products from our farm. And so we present them to you, ma. Congratulations once again. Please, you may be sitting. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's been a pleasurable time listening to the 91st Inaugural Lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, presented by Professor Helen Aduke Bodunde. And a lot of appreciation has been done. So I want, on behalf of the university, welcome once again all the family members of Oluboyede and Bodunde families, especially our own Professor Jacob Goke Bodunde. And if you are wondering why I had to pronounce it, see me after this program. And also, we want to welcome especially the former principal officers of the university, from our former acting Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ololade Adeduro, another one, Enikume, you're welcome. And then followed by, I think we must be orderly, followed by Professor C.I. Erumosele, C.I. Erumosele, former Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, and then Professor Chris Friday Ijoma Omuka, the former Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, and my own sister, Professor Oluyemisi Erumosele, former Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, and then, of course, the immediate past university librarian, Professor Nike Unifade, and our own Professor Eso Otubushin. You are welcome. And the other distinguished professors, members of Senate, we want to thank you very much for joining us on this occasion of the 91st Inaugural Lecture. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you for coming. We hope you'll join us for the 92nd edition coming up very shortly. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We have come to the end of the 94th Inaugural Lecture. Please listen to the following announcement. Can we be seated, sir? Thank you. Please let's listen once again to the announcement. The academic staff are going to exit this hall through the exit A, while the non-teaching staff are going to exit through the exit B. The guests of the inaugural lecturer are going to go through the central hall immediately after the procession has filed out in the reverse order. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear university community members, it is now time for the anthems. We recite the FUNAAB anthem, first of all, followed by the national anthem. Thank you very much.
For the mountains far.
national anthem, please.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank you very much. Please, let's wait for the procession to file out in reverse order before we exit the hall in both ways. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of the 91st Inaugural Lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, and the lecture was titled Eliminating the Avoidable Gulf Between Knowledge and Development. The lecture was delivered by no other person than a